There's a quiet kind of danger that never makes the front page. It doesn't come with explosions or breaking news alerts. It comes in a Senate hearing room, in careful language, between a senator and a nominee. And if you're not paying attention, you miss exactly what's at stake. Today, Senator Sarah Cruz laid out something that should be front and center in every conversation about American power in the 21st century. China is not just competing with the United States militarily. It is doing it quietly, through trade deals, mining rights, rare earth contracts, and now, potentially, through a small chain of islands in the middle of the Indian Ocean that most Americans have never heard of. Diego Garcia. Remember that name. It is the single most important military base the United States operates in the Indian Ocean. From that one island, America has projected power across the Middle East, Africa, and the entire Indo-Pacific for decades. And right now, a deal between the United Kingdom and Mauritius threatens to put that base, and everything it protects, within reach of Chinese influence. The nominee admitted he hasn't done a deep dive on the issue yet. That answer alone tells you how close we are to sleepwalking into a strategic catastrophe. So let's wake up, because this one matters.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, everyone. Let me first of all say it's good to see my friend Lee Lipton. Congratulations on your nomination. You're going to make a terrific ambassador. Thank you for serving. Mr. Garcia, let me turn to you. It's good to see you again. Congratulations on your nomination as well. When you and I met previously, we discussed the growing strategic importance of Africa to U.S. national security. As I've said repeatedly on this committee, Africa sits on the front lines of strategic competition with China in the 21st century. China represents the most significant long-term strategic challenge facing the United States. And the United States should confront China region by region, especially in Africa. But to compete effectively, we first have to recognize where our own approach has previously fallen short. U.S. policy has treated Africa as if it were borderless, a single undifferentiated space. That approach does not reflect reality. Africa is a continent of sovereign states, each with its own interests, priorities, and strategic value. We should be engaging African partners the same way we engage partners anywhere else in the world, country by country, interest by interest, partnership by partnership. That's how we counter Chinese influence and advance American interest on the continent. Can you explain, Mr. Garcia, in concrete terms, why Africa matters to U.S. national security and to our economic interests today?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Africa is a continent that is rich, not just with amazing human capital, but also is endowed with incredible natural resources, as well as a people that, when they work with us together, we form a really strong team together. I've been blessed with the opportunity to travel to Africa for the better part of 15 years, and in my time there, the locations that I have been to where there have been joint industrial enterprises together with African nations, it's an incredibly different Africa than perhaps a neighboring state. In my opening statement, I think I summarize Africa is at a great inflection point for the benefit of Africa and the United States interests. And if confirmed, I look forward to working with African nations on industrial and rare earth minerals, on energy, and the fundamentals of building a greater America with Africa partners.
Now, if you're confirmed, how will you ensure that our Africa policy aligns with the broader U.S. efforts to compete with China globally?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. The President's national security strategy has been very clear in terms of, this is a continent in transition from aid to trade. And I think that's a fundamental starting point with the relationship. And if confirmed, I would ensure that our industries the health enterprises in the United States, the innovation that we can bring to the continent is unleashed with our partners that choose to do business with us.
Thank you. Let me turn to another topic. I'm deeply alarmed that the United Kingdom is prepared to transfer the Chagos archipelago to Mauritius, a decision that would jeopardize U.S. national security by exposing military operations to China and potentially restricting military access to Diego Garcia. Diego Garcia sits at the center of the Indian Ocean and has been one of America's most important power projection platforms for decades, enabling operations across the Middle East, Africa, and the Indo-Pacific. Uninterrupted access to forward basing is foundational to protecting Americans, maintaining a capable deterrence, and defeating our adversaries in times of conflict. Limiting U.S. operational freedom or creating opportunities for Chinese influence over a critical facility would hand our adversaries a strategic advantage. This deal is dangerous to U.S. interests. President Trump is absolutely right to be furious with the UK's decision. The UK is taking a serious gamble with the special relationship by putting one of our most vital shared military assets at risk. Do you agree that unfettered U.S. access to Diego Garcia is a vital national security interest of the United States?
Yes, Senator, I do.
Describe the consequences for U.S. national interest if the UK moves forward with the Chagos Islands agreement with Mauritius.
Senator, I have not done a deep dive on this issue. I speak from past experience. Having spent time in Diego Garcia, having spent a significant amount of time operating in the North Arabian Sea and the Arabian Gulf, the support that came forward from Diego Garcia was invaluable. We could not have done and supported and projected U.S. strength and U.S. power without Diego Garcia. If confirmed, I commit to working with the committee to look at the issues with regard to our agreements, long-term agreements with the UK to share basing opportunities there.
Thank you.
Let me start with something that might surprise you. The most consequential battles of the next 50 years probably won't be fought with missiles. They'll be fought with contracts, with mining rights, with port access agreements, with the quiet, patient accumulation of strategic leverage. And right now, China is winning that fight in places most Americans aren't even looking at. That's what this hearing was really about. Senator Cruz didn't come in with fireworks. She came in with a map and an argument. And the argument is this: the United States has been treating Africa like a single, undifferentiated bloc for decades. One policy, one approach, one size for a continent of 54 sovereign nations with wildly different priorities, resources, and relationships. And while Washington was busy looking elsewhere, Beijing was doing the opposite. Country by country, deal by deal, port by port. China didn't conquer Africa. It invested in it. And now it has influence that America is scrambling to catch up to. The nominee, Mr. Garcia, spoke about rare earth minerals and industrial partnerships and the idea of moving from aid to trade. Those aren't just talking points. Rare earth minerals are the backbone of every advanced technology we depend on, from electric vehicles to fighter jets to the chips inside your phone. Africa holds an enormous share of the world's supply. Whoever controls access to those materials controls the future of modern warfare and modern industry. That is not an exaggeration. That is the current reality that defense analysts have been warning about for years. But here is where the hearing took a turn that I don't think got enough attention. Diego Garcia, a small, remote atoll in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and arguably one of the most strategically valuable pieces of real estate on the planet. For decades, the United States has operated a major military installation there under an agreement with the United Kingdom. From that single base, America has launched operations across 3 of the most volatile regions in the world simultaneously. It is not a backup option. It is a cornerstone of American power projection. And right now, The United Kingdom is negotiating a deal to transfer the Chagos Islands, where Diego Garcia sits, to Mauritius. The concern isn't Mauritius itself. The concern is what comes next, because Mauritius has deep and growing economic ties with China. And if Chinese influence finds its way into the governance or access agreements around Diego Garcia, the United States loses something it cannot easily replace. There is no other Diego Garcia. There is no alternative base in that part of the ocean with the same reach, the same positioning, the same operational history. When Senator Cruz asked the nominee directly whether he agreed that unfettered access to Diego Garcia was a vital national security interest, he said yes. But when she asked him to describe the consequences of the UK moving forward with the deal, he admitted he hadn't done a deep dive yet. I want to be fair here. He is a nominee, not yet confirmed. But that answer is a signal worth paying attention to. Because the deal is not hypothetical. It is actively moving forward. And the window to influence it, diplomatically, politically, through the special relationship with the UK, is closing. Here is the larger pattern I want you to see. Whether it's Africa's minerals, the Strait of Hormuz, or a remote island base in the Indian Ocean, the common thread is geography. The United States built its post-World War II dominance not just on military strength, but on presence, on being there, on having the bases, the partnerships, the access agreements that allowed American power to reach anywhere in the world within hours. That infrastructure took decades to build. It can be lost much faster than it was built. China understands this. That's why it builds ports. That's why it funds infrastructure projects across Africa and Southeast Asia. That's why it watches deals like the Chagos Agreement very, very closely. The question this hearing raises, and the question I think every American should be asking, is whether our policymakers understand it with the same clarity and urgency. Because strategy without attention to detail isn't strategy. It's just hope. And hope is not a plan.